Hey guys, it's Gemini, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about battle aces today in this video. Since the second beta wave just finished, I wanted to give some of my thoughts about the game, just what I think about it, what it feels like, some things that I think I could see being improved in the future, and just to give a little bit of feedback over to the devs in a video format, because I think that's a little bit easier to do than typing everything up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm hopefully going to keep it relatively short and concise and not ramble for 40 minutes, but we'll see how that ends up going. So I'm just going to start with a couple of the good things that I like so far compared to everything else first. So the first thing I want to talk about is the new counter system that they added in with this new beta phase. So I've been playing since the original alpha test. So there's the alpha test, and then there was 2 beta phases. And in the first alpha and then the first beta phase, there was not this super hard set counter system with the small units, splash units, anti-big, and big units. There was some the units did kind of lightly counter each other pretty similarly. However, now it's much more clear with the actual counter system that's been put into play this beta phase. And I think this is actually pretty good. I think a lot of people are a little off put by this because they make it makes it feel like everything is super hard countered. A lot of the people that I've seen have some kind of negative feedback to the game, thinks that the counters are too hard for their liking. And yeah, I'm going to say that I personally don't actually mind this whatsoever. I think it's actually kind of good, because it makes everything much easier to understand from my point of view when I'm playing. It makes it very simple to load into a game and just kind of look at the units that I have, look at the units that the opponent has, and just instantly know, like, yeah, okay, this unit is going to be good against that unit, this setup is going to be good against that setup, and I shouldn't go for these units. Considering that the game is already so fast-paced, if I have to really think super hard about which units are going to be good against what, it's going to make it kind of awkward, because the games don't last that long anyways in the first place. So I don't really have that much time at the beginning of the game to go into this super analysis of what I should be making. So I feel like I should just instantly have that information available to me right away. And I mean, sure, you could say that, yeah, with over time, with experience, you would just kind of know that anyways, which is true. However, it kind of leads into my next point, is that it's just very easy to understand and less overwhelming, especially once we start adding in more units. So the goal that they want to have Battle Aces has said is that they want to eventually have a whole bunch of units, just an insane amount of units that you could add in, so that way you can basically just have all these unlimited combinations. And so if they're going to be doing that, it's going to be extremely difficult to constantly remember every single unit that gets added in. This is kind of a problem that I have with games like League of Legends I used to play a while ago, where there's so many champions and you so rarely end up getting into the same champion matchups, because there's so many different ones, and at low levels especially, people will play all of them instead of just the meta ones. It's very frustrating because you can't remember what the good matchups are. There's also all the items as well, which make all the matchups even change as well. So it's very difficult to actually understand and memorize all of the different matchups. However, here, if they're going to be adding so many different units, having the counter system makes it so simple to, even if you see a new unit, you can very easily and quickly understand where it actually fits in and how it should be working. So I actually quite like this, and I think it makes it very good and kind of fits the theme of keeping a very simple and very very fast-paced, fun type of game. So I actually quite like the counter system. And the second point that I want to talk about is kind of what I was just mentioning a little bit right there, is just the fact that it is a very fast-paced game. It's very fast, it's very easy to queue into a lot of games, and it gets, honestly, kind of addicting at times, which is good, which is a very good thing. I find this very similar to another game that I've played a lot of, which was Rocket League. I played over 2,000 hours of Rocket League within a few years of when it released. I grinded that game so hard. I felt it was so easy to just get into 8-hour grind fests of Rocket League, just nonstop, without even thinking about it. And it's because the games are super quick. It's at most 5 minutes, other than maybe an overtime, which would last maybe a minute or two more, if that. And it's just very quick. You can just instantly queue into another game, and you don't even really think that much about it. Battle Aces is very similar in that way, so it makes it very fun to just grind out a whole bunch of games, because it's very fast paced. The action happens right away. I don't have much downtime to build something up. The very concise amount of time that it's given makes it very clear how much time I'm investing when I queue up. And I know exactly about what I'll be able to get out of a gaming session. Compared to games like StarCraft 2, League of Legends, Valorant, CS, Counter-Strike, it's a bit up in the air. You have a general idea, but the games can range from such a large amount of time. I mean, StarCraft 2, you can go anywhere from 5 minutes to 30. Counter-Strike games are like at a minimum 30 minutes. Counter-Strike and Valorant are like at least 30 minutes, usually more. League of Legends, it feels like, is also, again, nowadays maybe a little bit less, but back when I played, it felt like every game lasted 40 minutes or more. So Battle Aces makes it so easy to just know, yes, I will have this many games if I spend this much time, and it's very easy to just spam out a whole bunch of them and get a satisfying gaming session out of all of that. It feels like I can just play a whole bunch, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. It's not like I will only get time to play one single game, and then I lose that game, and then I'm like, okay, well, that's all the time I had. I guess I can't play until tomorrow again. Battle Aces, it feels very clean to just spam out a couple games in 30 minutes to an hour, and you are very satisfied with that. I quite like that a lot. So some people saying that maybe it's like too fast paced. I think it really has the correct identity that they're trying to go for, and I think that is very good. As just a different kind of game, a much more fast paced, quick, bite-sized kind of RTS game. So I do quite like that. And the last main good thing I want to talk about is that the game just feels very crisp. The unit micro is very good. Everything that I'm trying to get my units to do, it feels like they are doing that very simply, very quickly. The unit pathing, I think, is quite good. It just feels very satisfying to play. Something about the way that the unit interactions work, the way the unit pathing and everything, it just feels crisp, similar to how StarCraft 2 feels, where you just kind of know that when you tell a unit to do something, that's what's going to happen. And I think they have nailed that feeling extremely well, and that's definitely one of their biggest strong suits going into their last couple beta phases. So those are the three main things I find enjoyment out of from playing Battle Aces. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the improvements that I think they should make. So you can talk about a lot of different things here. You can talk about different units needing balance updates. Some units may be feeling a little out of place compared to others. The monetization things that were going on, I feel like that's been kind of beaten into the ground a little bit here, so I'm not really going to talk that much about that. I'm going to talk about some things that I think are on my highest priority list that are 100% attainable and something that should very easily be added in, that would just make the gaming experience in general far better than what it already is. And the number one thing that I think needs to get implemented and changed in Battle Aces is different UI and hotkey improvements. And the first one of that is camera hotkeys. There has to be camera hotkeys in this game, I feel like. There's so many times in the game where there's harassment going on in one of my worker lines, and I'm trying to hit my F1 camera hotkeys to just quickly go right back to that and send some units over there. So, especially since I'm a recall player mostly, just being able to go to, my natural and just hit recall on that thing to bring things back, and then double tap one back to go to my main army to attack. So stuff like that, I feel like it's so necessary. The game already feels very crisp, and to have it so that way you can constantly move throughout the map with the camera, just being able to double tap or single tap certain hotkeys to just quickly go between different parts of the map without having to click the minimap the whole time, will make the experience of this game just feel so crisp and so perfect. the reason that they have said that they don't want to put some of these camera hotkeys and other things in is that they don't want to overwhelm new players, and they wanted just to see how much they can do and how it feels, as simple as possible, as bare bones as possible. And I respect that, but I think this just needs to be in. Like, for any player that has played a game like this at a relatively high level, it feels very sluggish and very clunky to not have camera locations in the game. I don't really think this is something that would inhibit casual players from enjoying the game. You don't have to use camera hotkeys if you don't want to, and if you do, then it just helps you. I don't really, I don't see why you wouldn't have these in at the moment. The other thing that I think needs to be added in is the unit wireframes on the bottom, so that way you can actually see what units you have selected and to actually click on the units in the bottom UI to then select them. Those two in combination need to get added in, I think, to enable much higher micro potential and just overall actual feeling of the game. That, like, it feels like you're more in control if you can have those types of things added into the game. It's so much. It's very difficult right now to have different armies selected and kind of know exactly what units you're actually selecting. A lot of my understanding of what I have, like, subconscious understanding of what I'm doing with my unit control in games like StarCraft is using my peripheral vision to notice that the bottom UI is changing when I try to change my selection. For example, if I have my whole army selected and then I'm trying to simply just control click my blink stalkers to then do like a blink forward or something, I'm not like directly looking at the bottom UI when I do that all the time, but my peripheral vision, I will control click the stalker part, and then I will see that the UI changes, and that instantly tells me that I completed the thing I wanted to do. In Battle Aces, it does not give me that type of feedback. I try to control click certain things, and then I don't immediately know if I've actually clicked those units or not. Which also will go into my next point a little bit, which is that the unit selection indicator is way too subtle. The little light blue circle that indicates that you have selected things is way too subtle and makes it a little difficult to know which units I actually have selected. So these two things go kind of point in, all of these things honestly kind of meshed together, which is all why I'm talking about them together. But those things together make it very awkward to know exactly if I've selected certain things or not. Excuse my phone notifications. So yeah, camera hotkeys 100% need to be added to make the game feel way more crisp. It allows way more micro potential and multitask potential. Especially because the game itself, I didn't mention this, is that the game itself seems to benefit strongly and kind of, it accentuates, is that a word? It basically heightens players with good multitasking skills. Because it's not so much super micro intensive in the actual fights all the time. A lot of times it is a little bit A-movie, which is, again, fine. I don't think that's a big issue. But what it does do is it opens up multitasking around the map to constantly have different armies fighting on different parts of the map, having a couple units going to harass workers and stuff like that. And since that is what a large part of the game actually is, having camera hotkeys to facilitate being able to move around the map in much quicker and simpler ways would be a huge benefit, and also I think kind of lean in to the style of games that they currently already are having. So camera hotkeys I think are 100% necessity, and I would love to see those get added in as soon as possible. The unit wireframes as well at the bottom need to get added in as soon as possible as well, I think. It just makes it so much easier to know if I'm clicking on certain things, and it makes it easier to send things out. So often I will select like 2 king crabs, and then I want to like shift click them to different places. Like I want to click both of them to one worker line, shift click one out, and then use that one to go to a different worker line. And that's something that's very common to do in StarCraft 2, but I can't do that in Battle Aces, and feel myself trying to do that, and then I'm like, oh crap, there's like nothing on the bottom that I can actually do that with. I have to like specifically click the individual units. So that is just a little frustrating, and it makes it just not, it doesn't feel as satisfying in those ways to do the different types of micro. So I think if those things are added in, it would make it literally feel perfect. Like I would have almost zero complaints about this game if those things could just get added in. Another really quick thing to add on to this part as well is, right now the way that the control groups work is that if you control group something into a different control group, it acts as a steal function, like from StarCraft 2, where instead of adding it to the other control group while keeping it in the previous control group, it steals it from the previous control group and adding it into the second one, which I am not the biggest fan of. I honestly don't mind it too much. I kind of like that it is like that at the moment. However, I wish there was some kind of option or toggle or something to allow me to still have it normally. Because a lot of times what I'll want to do is I'll want to have still everything on one hotkey, but I just want something else, like for example, maybe like Blink Hunters on control group 2, so that way I can still A-move my whole army easily, but then I can easily just also press 2 Blink, so that way I'm just blinking forward the Blink Hunters and not the other units. So it would just make it a little easier, and I just feel an option for that would be very beneficial. So that's my general rant on the hotkeys and UI stuff. So I think that is absolutely the number one thing that needs to get added in as soon as possible. So the next thing that I think needs to get improved a lot is the ranking system and ladder. And the number one thing that absolutely I want to see happen so badly, and I understand that this is probably just a side effect of the fact that we are in a beta, a closed beta, and there's maybe not always so many people on, but I can't stand, or I can't state how much I hate playing against bots in ranked ladder. Oh, it's so annoying, especially because it's very obvious when it is a bot. It's so easy once you play a couple bots to realize what their patterns are, especially I mean, once you just play a few games, you just notice it immediately. Like, you'll go attack across the map, and then they will instantly target, they will instantly get, attack priority on your units or whatever you call it, and they'll start immediately attacking you. But then once you go past the halfway point back into your side, they will immediately start retreating back. Like, it's just so obvious, but it just feels so bad if you're on a losing streak. If you lose like 4, 5, 6 games in a row, and then you're playing another game and you realize that it's a bot, oh, it feels so bad. Like, I feel like I'm being insulted. It's like the game is like, wow, you're so garbage at this game, you can't even beat real people. Here, take a bot, feel a little better about yourself, and then go play a real person. Like, I hate that. I think that and it makes it feel worse. I feel like they're trying to, like, do the opposite, where they're kind of trying to be like, hey, like, for newer players especially, like, hey, like, you're losing, but here's a win to, get your mood back up. And then for me, it's just the total opposite. I'm just like, this makes me feel worse. This is like, it's like an insult to injury, pouring salt in the wounds that the system thinks I'm so bad that I can't even beat a real person anymore. They have to feed me a freaking computer. Like, I cannot stand this. I really hope that once the game has more people in it, that they just remove this entirely. Like, I don't want to play bots. I understand it for maybe like the proving grounds thing, and maybe the first few games, that's fine. I get it. But once you're in ranked ladder, please stop putting me against bots. God, it feels so bad. And the next thing that I want to talk about for the ranking system is how the promoting and demoting works, where if you get to a certain milestone, right now it's every 1,000 points, you get into a new league. Once you get there, you can't be demoted from that league. So you might lose all the points from, for example, 6,000 to 5,000, or sorry, 5,999 to 5,000. But once you get back to 5,000, you won't go below it. And I get what they're doing with it, and it does feel nice to not to know that you're not going to lose the rank once you get it. However, this means that it has essentially zero meaning. Like, I literally have no idea how good I am or how good any of the opponents are that I'm playing against, because once you get to a certain point, like, you could probably drop your rank intentionally or not, like 3,000 or something points below what that point marker is, but you're still listed as the 5,000, and then you're also still getting like a normal amount of points for your wins, so you'll still rank up anyways. So there's just no indication on what skill level there actually is, which essentially just makes it's not even a ranking system at that point. It's literally just a progression system of how many games you've played, more or less. So they 100% need to rethink how their ranking system works right now. You can definitely think of a system that will make it so that way losses don't feel as punishing, but you still have satisfaction with wins and an actual accurate representation of what your skill level is compared to someone else. I mean, I can't really think of one off the top of my head right now, to be honest, but again, that's not really my job. I'm just giving the feedback that I feel like it doesn't accurately portray a rank, which is what a ranking system is supposed to do. So I really hope they will rethink this soon. I'm sure this is a placeholder ranking system. I don't assume that this is going to be final. But, you know, I'm just saying that as definitely one of the things that needs to be improved pretty quickly as well. Something else that I think would be a very cool feature to add as well to the ranking system would be some sort of a rematch or best of 3 format feature. I think would be very good for this type of game. The games are super quick. It's very fast paced. I feel like it's a very good opportunity to have, similar to some fighting games where you have a rematch button, where if you play a game against someone, you can agree to a rematch, and then you just go ahead and play again. The games can be so fast, so maybe you kind of get cheesed out really quickly, or maybe you just kind of made one silly mistake that, you know, ended the game in 1 minute, and you're like, well, crap, that was dumb. Like, I want to play you again. What the heck? Like, boom, click rematch, go again. Or even a best of 3, like you opt into a best of 3 against somebody, and then you know, play 2 or 3 games against them. I think that would be really cool, and I think that would 100% kind of just, again, go in with the type of game that they want to go for. It's just, I think that would be very cool, and I would love to see them add that in. Along with that, another type of feature that I think they could add in that would be really cool. I'm not necessarily sure if I want this for ladder, however, this is going a little bit more towards the esports side, is some sort of pick ban feature for the games. I think there's a lot of opportunities for different types of pick ban features or methods to be added in to the game, whether it be like a League of Legends style where, you know, you ban a few units and then you pick a few, and then you ban a few and then you pick a few. If you ban out like whole decks, I don't really think that's the best idea, but I feel like there's a couple different ideas you could definitely come up for that would make for much more interesting and much more variety for your actual games. So at least for this beta phase, it became very apparent that Mortar Destroyer was like one of the best compositions you can make for on Foundry, or just Blink and Blink Hunters were just by and far the best core units, essentially. So it would be very interesting to see some type of pick ban phase. I was even wanting to do this for the recent Tassel Tussle, but you know, just for simplicity's sake, we decided to keep it as simple as possible. But I really want to, if Battle Aces, if the devs don't implement this right away, again, it's not like a super needed thing, but if they don't implement this right away, I'm really curious. I want to try out doing some sort of pick ban stuff, experimenting with different possible methods for this, because I think it could really improve the amount of variety that we would have seen and allow the more interesting thing about the game, which is the deck switching. I think one of the biggest interesting parts of the game is that you can have all these different decks and that you have a lot of different unit combinations that you could possibly come up with. And so having a system that encourages you to know more than just one deck or a few units, I think would be very cool and make for much more fun and interacting esports events and also possibly even ladder play, which again, I'm not sure exactly if I want this in ladder yet, just because again, this kind of goes with what I was saying earlier with one of the good things is that the game is very quick. I can know exactly how much time I'm devoting into the sessions, and I can just spam out games one at a time or back to back. So adding in like a little pick ban phase before each game would definitely slow the pace of how many games I could play. And I'm not exactly sure how much I would like that. If it was still like a really fast paced kind of ordeal where we could just kind of slam it out in like, like a minute or less, then I think it would be fine. But yeah, that's the only concern I have with putting on ladder, is that I wouldn't want it to kind of like break with the flow of how good it feels to just slam out a bunch of these games really quickly. So for tournaments in esports and stuff like that, I 100% think that there should be some experimentation with some sort of picking and banning feature. For ladder, I think it could still be kind of interesting, but I don't know if it'll fit perfectly in, the same as it would in a tournament. Anyways, that's pretty much the main things that I wanted to talk about for the Battle Aces beta that just wrapped up today. There's plenty of other things that I think are quite good and maybe need some improvement, but these are the most important ones that stuck out to me, and just the ones that I really felt more motivated to talk about personally. So that's those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys been playing any Battle Aces? Do you agree with any of the points I made? Do you have any other suggestions that you might think are worth improving or whatnot? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm very curious because the game, I think, does have a lot of potential, and I think it's a very fun game so far, and the bases and foundations are very strong, and I would love to see more players start playing this game in the next couple beta phases, and for also it to be just in general more popular. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in another video. Take care.